Welcome back to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast series. Welcome back to the audio podcast or the video series you've joined me today. But before we get started, I just want to shout out the sponsor. This episode is sponsored by the Job Search Queensland, the #1 platform for online practice job interviews with the real industry professionals. If you suffer from nerves or struggle to effectively communicate your value, articulate your skills, experience, or achievements, then Job Search Queensland is here to assist. This team is passionate about helping you to step up to the next step of your career ladder, empowering future leaders to excel during the interview process so you can land the next ideal job. And you can find them at jobsearchqld.com. And fundamentally, it's amazing to just talk about your sponsors when you can have the gentleman behind Job Search QLD on the show today, Dr. Dré, without the doctor. Yeah. Welcome to the show, mate.
Yeah, thanks, Lawrence. I'm happy to be here. Pumped. So, and I love the intro as well. So awesome.
You love the intro. You love they're talking about your business and so forth. And it's funny Sorry to interrupt the current show, but just to let you know, if you're enjoying what you see, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. So next time another episode comes out, you'll be able to see it first. Back to the show. It totally resonates with me at the moment. That's why anything I do with my brand, anything I do when I speak out there, whether it's sponsorship or anyone that wants to come and help me, it has to be something I feel important about. It has to be something that I support. And at the moment, in the time we are, wherever you are in the world, pre, post, middle, end, getting to the end of COVID, employment, loss of employment, your career paths, or all our career paths are slightly askew to 12 months ago. And, your company about taking that into consideration, your company about looking at people and their skills and trying to give them enough knowledge and skills to take that next step, how to get the job interview, how to look good in the job interview, what to do when you're in there as well, is really important to myself. And I'm so happy about this business relationship and this deal that we've done recently with yourself.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I guess at the moment, absolutely crazy times, and there's so many people that have been affected by what's going on in the world. And I think one of the most important things is that it was kind of like a level playing field, but now you need to differentiate yourself and be proactive and step outside your comfort zone. So there's probably 300-400 people going for one job. And actually, so your episode today, so what's your episode today with Jolene Swarford? Yes. Did I say that correct? Yeah. Yes. So I absolutely love the episode. And something that she mentioned about personal branding, which I really resonated with, because that's what, with the coaching industry, that's something that people should be adopting if they're looking for, a new job or a new position. So personal branding, trying to step outside, being someone that is completely different to everybody else. So with what's in your portfolio or your sales kit. So you need your resume, your CV, your thank you letter, your cover letter, your strategic networking document, and then social media, which there's a lot of people that are afraid to kind of step up and put themselves out there. But once you step outside your comfort zone, that's where the opportunity and the rewards come. So ways that you can make yourself, or that you can add value to the industry, to other people, is by writing articles, is by doing videos, even Facebook Lives, because I know that she mentioned that, and there's lots of people that are scared to do that. But for you to be heard, you need to be seen before you can be heard. So, that's something that people need to do if they want to be different.
No, I totally agree with that. If you want to stand out in the job market, as Dré is talking about at the moment, you've got to consider that it is a flooded space at the moment. The job market or the career path, whatever you want to follow, just because of the time that we're in. So you've got to be unique and different. There's 1,000 people. There's 1,000 people that are going for one job. Let's use that example. But fundamentally, there's only one of you. right? There's only ever going to be one of me. There's only ever going to be one of Dré. And, I would never want the world to have more than one of me because I'm quite a pain most times, right? So, so that's why you got to understand that your oneness makes it your uniqueness. And people need to realize that by themselves to stand out in the job market. So by going out there and on your social media, whether it's on your LinkedIn platform, whether it's on your Facebook, your Instagram, whatever platform, you can go out there and just start communicating and start talking and start putting out a message is over a period of time going to help your brand awareness for potential companies to look to hire you. And Dré will be able to back me up. You will not believe how many companies, no matter how small or big they are, no matter which country they are in the world, when they get an application and that application comes through and you go to the second round or whatever round it is, how many of those companies will search you in Google, will search you on Facebook, they will search you on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Everywhere.
Almost every single example of that will happen. I can tell you I'm a contractor by day, and every new contract I have, as soon as I'm back in the job market looking, I see people are searching me across the LinkedIn platform. And that's where that little indifference of yourself and uniqueness of yourself will put yourself ahead of the other 50 people that are looking at the moment. What's your thoughts, Dré?
Yeah, that's spot on. So you need to effectively communicate your value to everybody, and be able to articulate your skills, your experience, like your knowledge and your achievements. And what you're saying about doing that people are going to be looking at you. So like with like Facebook, you should, I guess, change your privacy settings. So if you don't want people to see, if you're out one night and you're on the
on the tipple.
Yeah. So you need to do that. But also on the flip side of that, what is great is that people can actually, so say if you can research the interviewer, so you can have a look at their LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
You can have a look at their Facebook, their Twitter. I'm not on Twitter, but you can have a look at their Twitter, their Instagram, all of that sort of things. And what I love about LinkedIn is that if you know the name of the interviewer, straight away you can have a look at their LinkedIn profile, see their work history, and then you might have someone that they know, or you might have some mutual connections which you can go and speak to and get a bit of background information on them. So when you do actually have an interview, it's just an easy introduction and a great way to build a rapport and a relationship.
It's great you mentioned that. It's something I was going to bring up at a later stage, and I'll hold that off for now. But before I get to that point, I wanted to get into something before we get into the interview room. That sometimes a lot of people that's looking for jobs out there, and when we're talking about the word CV or we're talking about the word resume, as in our discussion, we're talking about the same thing fundamentally: a piece of paper or a digital print of what your experience is, just so that depending on where you're listening or watching the show, you don't get confused. One thing you see out there, and I'm guessing Dré can talk to us about, is getting your CV and your resume correct. And also fundamentally, not just correct, but knowing what is actually on it. Because when someone asks you a question going, oh, your last job, you worked at Coca-Cola, for example. Oh, what did you do then? You go, did I work at Coca-Cola? No, it's not going to go down well. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so say with your CV, your resume, you should have a personal profile at the top that should be able to kind of grab the reader's attention, and then it needs to be set in a chronological order. So you start with your work experience, making sure that you have your key responsibilities, but when you need to put, I guess, say for instance, for example, you're a sales guy. So you need to put your sales figures on there, and they need to be expressed either in a monetary value or as percentages. So most people are sort of visual, and then when recruiters or hiring managers are looking at your resume, they spend anywhere between 6 to 8 seconds, and they're just looking for keywords and for kind of facts and figures and achievements and things that just grab their attention. So that's something that you really need to do as well. However, your resume needs to be about you. It's a sales document, but people need to get a feel for you and what value that you can add and what you can bring to the company. So 2 reasons why companies hire. So it'll either be to solve an issue, problem, or a challenge, or to help with the growth of the company. So you've got to think, okay, either what problem am I solving or how can I help the company grow.
Oh, I totally love that. To anyone out there at the moment, and it's trying to make a sense of how do I put it down on paper? How do I make it resonate in the right way? Take it back a step is, if you're a young enough person and you're running an Instagram, you're running a LinkedIn, or so let's say not a LinkedIn, but you're doing Instagram or YouTube, and you're producing content that is working. Why is that content working? Because you're giving someone on the other side something that they want to see and then they engage in. When you're going into a job interview from a CV or resume point of view, it's exactly the same thing. They've got an expectation, the company, what they want to see. And if you understand that and you can communicate that in the right method by doing it on your CV in the right way, and the skills that Dre's company provides, you just have that one step up. And that's why in our social world we live in today, we see people that do the exact same thing, but just with a subtle change, and fundamentally it's more successful than something else. With one simple change of adding a single word, a percentage, a financial number on their, in the first paragraph of their CV, this person gets picked more often than this person.
That's right. So you've just actually reminded me of something.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something called ATS. So for your listeners or your viewers,
mm-hmm.
if they haven't heard of an ATS, grab a pen and a piece of paper right now, and I want you to jot this down. So ATS stands for Applicant Tracking Software. So what recruiters and hiring managers do, so say for instance you've applied for a position through, say if it's Seek, Jura, LinkedIn, or another job board, then it's kind of like a traffic light system. So your resume will go in, and then, okay, we'll use this for example. Say for instance, we're a company, we're looking for someone that is a business development manager, and also maybe they've got some MYOB experience. So we're looking for those two keywords. So if a person applies and they hit those two words, then yes, they're going to go into the green light. If they hit one of those words, then they'll go into like amber or yellow. If they hit another one, then they'll go into red. So with the green, the recruiter will put that in the good pile, and they'll look at that in a bit more depth a bit later on. If they go into amber, depending how many applicants that they've had at the green light, then, so say for instance they've had, like maybe 20, they're not even going to bother looking at amber. If they've only had 2 or 3, then they'll look at amber, but they won't even look at red because it hasn't hit any of those key points. So what people should do is, on the job description, read it thoroughly, and under the key duties or responsibilities, have a look what those keywords are, and make sure that you put them in your resume. And if you have a cover letter, add them into your cover letter, so you can get picked up. You'll be in the green pile, and then you'll get a call from the hiring manager or an interview, and then you'll be able to go to the next stage with a face-to-face interview.
I love that. It's understanding, the other side of how companies work, and understanding the software they're using to filter through the 500 applications or the 1,000 applications that's going through there. And what Dre's saying at the moment is nothing that's wrong. It's just you're looking at what the customer's looking for. If you have the skills what they're having for, but they might be using 5 or 10 terms to be able to filter through that, be respectful to yourself and utilize those 5 or 10 keywords, as we would say, with the search terms in your own resume and your cover page, so that when it goes to the system, you get flagged as a possible, and then you get into the next round.
It's so important. Yeah.
And just bring it around again. So what you said earlier on, when I said just putting on hold on the point about researching someone on LinkedIn, is once you've got your CV in place, you've gone down first and second round, and they give you the call and go, okay, would love to interview you. As you mentioned is obviously going on LinkedIn or going on a social platform or going on a website and going, okay, let's use the example again, Coca-Cola, researching everything you can about that company, researching everything about that company, the potential problems they might have, the marketing ideas that you could present if you're going into a marketing career, and then also research as most you can about the person that's going to interview you.
That's
right,
it.
Try. And so that obviously gives you that leg up, and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so definitely, well, first place you to start. So when you've got an interview coming up, so research the industry. So look what's happening locally, also nationally. If they've got like an international footprint as well, look at that. Then look at the company that you're going to be going into, the ways that you can do research. I guess everyone I'm not sure if anyone uses Bing, but most of the time it's most. I'm not even sure if that's still going, Bing and Yahoo. So have a look at Google, company websites, look at annual reports, any sort of projects or charity events that they're involved with, and just make sure that lines up, that their mission, vision, and values line up to your core values as well. So when you've looked at the industry, you've looked at the company, then you look at the interviewer. First place to start is what you mentioned. So have a look at LinkedIn. And then when you look at someone's LinkedIn profile, they almost straight away that they can see that, that you've looked at their profile. So if you're going for an interview, definitely do it as soon as you know the name of the interviewer. Do it a few days out before the interview, and also the day before, just so you're at the front of mind for when you're actually in there. Have a look at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then you're kind of okay, maybe a stalker, maybe a detective. I guess it's a thin line. Yeah. But what I'd say is, you're a bit of a stalker. You're just trying to find out as much information as possible. And then when you're, say for instance, you've seen a picture of them either on LinkedIn, for a golf day, or on Facebook, and they're playing golf. That's a great conversation starter for when you walk into the room. So you can say, when I was doing my research, I noticed that you were playing golf. Where do you play? How often do you play? What's your handicap? And then if people are passionate, then they love to talk about, things that they love, because they'll just talk all day. Yeah. And if you get the other person talking more than you can, then you're in control of the conversation, and half the battle's won.
That's great. It's definitely something, I try and pay attention to myself. Like I said, is my day job. I'm a contractor. And so obviously, every 6 to 12 months, the same sort of thing happens. I've got to go back on the job first, look for the new contract, and you try to do some research. And, looking and researching into someone definitely does help out. And as well as, not just in that sense, in life and in social media and the business world as well. I've done it for guests that I've had on the podcast myself, and I've gone back as far as researching an interview they did 10 years ago, and about a comedy moment and a funny moment they had on the show, and I brought it up on the show, and the person was like, how do you know that?
Yes.
How do you remember that? How do you know? And for 5 minutes, we just spoke about that. So, and afterwards, they're like, that was super cool, because, you went there a little bit different than most people would go on the superficial layer, going, I can see you've done this and this, but they've actually done the research. And again, it's talking about that uniqueness, where you need that uniqueness at the moment in the world. You need to have that little bit different of not standing outside a guy's window looking at what he's having for dinner, but looking on social media and seeing how you can figure something out, that when you speak to a guy or girl that's on the other side of the table that's likely potentially going to give you a job, you can resonate with them and build a relationship with them on a friendly basis, because then they're going to remember you and likely give you that opportunity more.
That's right. And it's that, know, like, and trust. So it's like a sales thing, and it applies to hiring people as well. So people need to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. So they'll hire you based on emotion, and then they'll validate with logic as well.
That's great.
So it's very, very difficult to do in an interview when you've only got an hour. So you need to perform at your best as well, but be yourself as well.
I totally agree with that. Now, one last thing I wanted to take a look into the whole thing was, we said how to stand out in the job market, how to get the resume correct, doing the research before you get in the room, and then finally the whole overall sort of additional package of preparation, preparation for yourself, whether it means just preparing, getting yourself calm, attire, what to wear, what to look like, your mannerisms and things like that. Can you give the listeners some insights into that?
Yes, I think preparation is key. So I've got I guess like my model called the 3 Ps, which is
Mm-hmm.
preparation, practice, and performance.
Mm-hmm.
So like with preparation, so we've mentioned about doing all of your research, and then you need to turn up on the day. So you only get one chance to make a good first impression, and that is a long-lasting impression. So I say, depending what industry that you go into, so say for instance, if you've got an interview for construction, you
Mm-hmm.
can't turn up, in a suit and tie because you're
Doesn't
going to get
resonate.
laughed out and they're going to
Yeah.
end up, yeah. So I'd say just dress 20% better than what the industry expects, because then you will
Mm-hmm.
stand out. So make sure that you know where you're going, what time, just simple little things as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you also need to practice your interview answers as well. So you can't rehearse them word for word because you're going to sound and look like a robot
Yep.
and like an idiot as well. But just have, say, 3 or 4 like key points and just practice those key points, and then just expand on those,
Mm-hmm.
but in your own words, and let your personality like shine through as well.
That's great. I love that. Thinking about what you're going to say in certain situations, how you're going to say it, is so important, because just if you think on a day to day, if you're talking to someone and they're really weird about how they answer, or they're really, how to say, robot type style, and even if they're your friend, you go, hold on, that just doesn't feel right. Now, if this person sitting on the other side of the table is actually interviewing for a job and has that same feeling, they're going to just take a resume like this, and they're just going to throw it in the bin and go, I can't be stuffed with that person, right? And then wait for
Yeah.
the next one. So it's all those things you've got to think of to make the difference. One of the biggest things that I always had a challenge with myself is I'm a big, large mammal as I am, and I've got quite a loud voice, and I get quite excitable when I'm really passionate about something. So
Yeah.
I'll be in the interview and people talk about your passions, and I'll get really into it. So I would lean forward and get really movement, and I move a lot of my arms. And afterwards, I would have people come to me and say, "Hey, you're really over empowering and opposing and quite scary at moments in the interview room." So I had to pull that back a little bit and realize that, be passionate, but stay where you're at. Don't come too far forward. Keep control of my arms. Don't let my voice go, levels high, because it sounds like I'm shouting. Because South Africans, we do that a lot quite naturally. We talk really fast, very loud. So I had to always just keep it calm
Yeah.
a lot more. And it's that learning process. I think for myself and anyone that's coming through to your business and your industry as well, is it's not going to be right the first time. It's not going to be right
Yeah.
the second time, but just learn each time.
Yeah, so communication, so verbal and non-verbal. So what you need to do is mirror and match the other person. So if they're talking really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
then you speed
Speed
up
up.
and you talk slightly quicker. If they're slower, then you just slow your rate of speech down. With their body language, so say for instance you like put your arm up like that, then if I want to match you,
Yeah.
then I'll simultaneously do that at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, no, if I want to mirror you, then I'll
Yeah.
simultaneously do that. But if I want to match you, then I'll leave like a 5-second delay.
Mm-hmm.
Subconsciously, you're going to be thinking in the back of your mind, I don't know what it is about this guy, but there's something that's really familiar, and there's something that I like. And it sounds so simple because it's derived from like NLP,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so powerful. So say for instance, when you're with your mates,
Mm-hmm.
like say like tomorrow or something, and like people that you get on really well with, like you're in sync,
Yeah.
and you've got the same sort of like hand movements, body gestures, and
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So it's just extremely powerful.
No, that's great. I love that, Trey. And it's totally, anyone that's thinking about it, when you're out with people that you get on with and people that you understand, there's always a synchronicity about it.
That's it. Yeah.
There's the big word. I just
Yeah.
think, I had to think about it for a split second. I was thinking to myself, am I going to say the word or not? And then am I going to stuff it up? But anyway, in the sense of, if you go to a pub and you're by yourself with one or two mates, there's always a moment where you hear a group of guys or girls just laugh in sync, or something just happens, and that's totally what resonates between themselves as well. And what you're explaining, that in that moment, if you can build that link between yourself and the other person by mirroring and copying and so forth. It just does that strange sort of energy between yourselves, and it means that it just feels more to it.
Yeah, so building that rapport, building that relationship. So it's that know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just need to close off that interview and then win your ideal job. So, yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yes, totally, Dré. Before we end off the show today, is there anything last you want to leave our listeners with to think about for the marketplace, or over the next couple of months, of sort of key insights just to take with them?
Yeah, so what I'd say is, if you want to differentiate yourself to stand out from the crowd, is you need to put yourself out there. So Facebook Lives, not a lot of people like doing them, so it's very hard, but there's only a small percentage of people that actually do that, and you'll gain traction if you do that. So writing articles, just being someone that is seen as that can add value. So a collaborator, a visionary, an influencer. So communication, especially now with what's going on. So you need to be able to communicate and show your worth, and what you can add to like companies and to industries. So especially for young people, if you can master communication early, then once you start like working after a few years, your salary is going to be anywhere between say $30,000 up to about $50,000 more than other people. So yeah, I'd say that's the key.
That's great. And where can the listeners and the watchers find you?
So Facebook, so Dré, Dré McLaughlin, McLaughlin. Job Search Queensland as well. .com. So yeah, lots of places as well.
That's great. And one thing I just wanted to leave you guys with at the end is, when Dré was talking about Facebook Live, influencer, and so forth. So anyone that's listening going, but hold on, I'm just looking for a basic job. I'm not what you'd call inverted commas influencer. When we're talking about that, we're not talking about this social media influencer that's sitting on top of a Ferrari and goes, if you follow my 5 steps, you can own a car. What we're talking about in that sense is being an influence to what you stand for, and influence potential in other people about what you're trying to communicate, inspire, and give. So that when people look into you, they can say, hold on, this person resonates with our brand, our social brand, and our company's strategy, which we're trying to achieve. People get hired and they'll have 5 Instagram followers. People get hired and they've got no following at all, but they still produce the content and they still try to communicate out there because they're trying to inspire or change or alter other people. And that's what resonates more with companies today than you going, hey, look, it's my Ferrari. Because you know what? 99% of the times those Ferraris are leased or rented, or you're sitting on some other guy's Ferrari and he's just out of a shot of photo with a baseball bat just about to hit you over the head. So, but at the end of the day, be where you are, be unique and follow that. Be yourself and just show the world to what you can do. And take in what Dré had said today. Take a look at what his company is offering, what they help you out with, because in the time we are in the world today, there are more people unemployed right now than there were 12 months ago. There are likely going to be more people on top of that over the 3 to 6 months if things don't improve even more. So we need to take the most skills you can and understand the insights that's provided, like the people from Dré, to find yourself different in a place to give yourself that opportunity. So think about it, let that sink in. And at the end of the show, as I always say, I don't go and push out and I don't ask any money for my brand, my show, whatever, what I do. But what I do ask for, if something resonated with you today, if something stuck with you today, and you think someone else might get a benefit from it, send it to them. Tell them to come over, tell them to come watch and listen and see what they can learn from what we're trying to do out there and inspire others. But at the end, stay powerful, stay beautiful, and stay safe. Until next time, see ya.